What if reality has been speaking to you your entire life, and you were trained to call it noise? Every single day, small messages are placed along your path, moments too precise to be accidents. A song that begins playing at the exact second you think of someone. A number that follows you everywhere you look. A stranger you happen to meet who carries the exact answer you had been searching for. You wave them away as coincidence. But somewhere underneath, you always felt they were something more. And you were right. Synchronicities are not accidents. They are messages. They are patterns woven into the fabric of reality itself, nudging you toward something greater. Ancient civilizations understood this. Mystics and philosophers studied it. Modern society calls it luck, chance, randomness. Because the system does not want you to realize the truth. These moments are proof that reality is nothing like the thing you were shown. So this is not going to be a video about how mysterious that is. This is a manual. By the end of it, you will know what every repeating number means. You will know what a bird at your window means, and what it means when your keys vanish on the morning you are about to leave. You will know how to read the person who keeps reappearing at every turning point of your life. You will know what your own body is telling you before your mind builds its arguments. You will know how to read your dreams, which is the widest channel of all, and the one almost nobody is taught to use. And you will know how to tell a real sign from a wish wearing its clothes. How to ask a question so that reality actually answers it, and exactly what to do in the 7 days that start tonight. 8 steps. That is the whole system, and every one of them is something you can do. Because here is what I came to understand after years of watching this in my own life. You are not blind. You are illiterate. The signs have been arriving in full sentences since the day you were born, and nobody ever taught you the alphabet. So let us start with why that alphabet was taken from you, because it will only take a few minutes, and you need it to trust what comes next. From the moment of your birth, you were trained to believe in a world of logic, structure, and predictability. Everything had to have a rational explanation, and anything that would not fit inside that frame was thrown out as coincidence or imagination. Think back to your childhood. As a child, you were naturally tuned to patterns, to energy, to intuition. You noticed how certain events lined up perfectly. You could feel that something was about to happen. You instinctively knew when someone was thinking about you. And what happened when you shared those experiences? You were told it was just your imagination. You were taught to ignore those sensations, to trust only what could be measured, proven, and classified. Slowly but surely, you stopped paying attention. Education finished the job. Schools did not teach you to listen to your intuition, to recognize synchronicities, or to understand energy. They taught you to memorize facts, follow rules, and obey authority. If you could not see it, weigh it, or measure it, it was not real, and a child who insisted otherwise was corrected until the insisting stopped. Sit with what that actually cost you. Somewhere between the ages of 5 and 10, something in you that was working perfectly was switched off by adults who were only repeating what had been done to them. You were not taught a subject, you were taught a silence. And you have carried it so long that you learned to call it maturity. Because the whole system rests on one idea, and it is the only idea it has ever really needed. That you should trust external authority and never your own inner knowing. Science became the chief guardian of truth. Not real science, the kind that investigates the unexplored, but the mass-produced, rigid materialist version that tells you everything is random and meaningless. Under that model, seeing 11:11 on the clock again and again is just confirmation bias. Meeting exactly the right person at exactly the right time is just luck. But here is what they do not tell you. In the 1920s, a biologist named Paul Kammerer sat on park benches in Vienna with a notebook, cataloguing coincidences. Names that arrived in pairs, numbers that clustered. strangers who wore the same coat on the same street on the same afternoon. He filled that notebook for years and called what he found the law of series, and he insisted that clustering is a property of the world itself, as real as gravity, running quietly underneath the events we call random. And then there is Wolfgang Pauli, one of the founding physicists of the quantum age, a man whose work sits at the base of everything modern physics rests on. Pauli spent his entire life haunted by a single number, 137. It appeared in his equations, in his letters, in his dreams. He called it the Great Mystery, the number standing at the boundary of what physics would ever be allowed to explain. He said that when he died and met God, the first thing he would ask about was 137. Wolfgang Pauli died in a Zurich hospital in room number 137. Hold on to that story, because we are going to come back to it in step 2, and what it actually shows you about your own life is not what most people assume. Carl Jung, Nikola Tesla, and Albert Einstein all acknowledged that reality is nothing like as random as we are told. They understood that synchronicities, patterns, and hidden connections were keys to a greater truth. And still, society mocks anyone who takes these experiences seriously. Speak openly about synchronicities, and you will be called superstitious, irrational, maybe even unwell, while those who fall in line with the materialist worldview are praised as logical and intelligent. That is not an accident. That is social programming. If you want to control a population, the first step is to make certain they never discover their own power. Because the moment you begin paying attention to synchronicities, you begin to realize that you are connected to something far greater than yourself. These moments expose a crack in the illusion. They show you that reality is not a cold, indifferent machine, but an interconnected web that responds to your thoughts, your emotions, and your energy. Now, before the steps, understand what you are actually working with, because a manual without a mechanism is just a list of superstitions. At some point in your life, you had an experience so precise, so perfectly timed, that it felt impossibly random. You think about someone you have not spoken to in years, and they call you that afternoon. You open a book on a random page, and the words in front of you answer the exact question that had been occupying your mind. You notice a sequence, 111, 222, 333, turning up everywhere you look, as though reality were leaving clues along your path. Those are not accidents. They are deliberate signals from a deeper intelligence, a force that has been quietly guiding you your entire life. The universe is not a collection of random, scattered events. It is an interconnected field of energy and consciousness. Every thought you have, every intention, every emotion you experience transmits a frequency, like a radio signal. Synchronicities are the way the field answers back. They are the bridge between the visible and the invisible, the physical and the metaphysical. Carl Jung introduced the term synchronicity after observing countless examples of events lining up in ways that defied logic. He held that these meaningful coincidences are the expression of a deeper, hidden order in reality, a concept the ancient spiritual traditions had understood for centuries. And the moment that gave the term its name is worth telling properly, because it is almost always reduced to a footnote. Jung had a patient who was brilliant and completely sealed. Her rationalism was armor. Every session she explained away everything he offered, and the work would not move. Then one morning she came in and described a dream. In the dream, she had been given a piece of jewelry, a golden scarab. As she spoke those words, Jung heard a soft tapping at the window behind him. Something was knocking against the glass from the outside, trying to get into the darkened room. He turned, opened the window, and caught the insect in his hand as it flew in. It was a rose chafer beetle, its shell a shining gold green, the closest thing to a golden scarab that exists in that part of the world. He turned around and handed it to her and said, "Here is your scarab." Her armor broke that morning. Jung wrote later that the treatment could finally begin. And in ancient Egypt, the scarab was the symbol of rebirth. The thing that knocked on that window was not only precisely timed, it was precisely correct. Notice also where that message started. It started in a dream, and the waking world confirmed it. Keep that shape in mind because it is the single most important mechanic in this entire video, and we will build a whole step on it. Eastern philosophies call this karma. Mystics call it divine timing. Quantum physicists describe it as non-locality, the idea that everything in the universe is fundamentally connected beyond space and time. Think about it. The entire universe is built on patterns. Nature follows fractal geometry. Planetary orbits align in mathematically perfect proportions. Your DNA is encoded with repeating sequences. Everything in existence functions through patterns, cycles, and relationships. So why would your thoughts, your emotions, and your decisions be any different? They are not. Synchronicities are the glitch in the matrix, the moments when the underlying order reveals itself. Some believe they come from a higher version of yourself. Others believe they come from the collective unconscious, the shared reservoir of human experience and archetypes. Others see the direct intervention of a higher intelligence, whether you call it the universe, the quantum field, or what people name God. The exact source matters less than understanding that they are real and that they serve a purpose. To guide you. That is the mechanism. Now here is the manual. Step 1. Turn the receiver on. Everything else in this video is useless if you skip this one, and most people skip it. Synchronicities are happening constantly. If you are not present, you will not notice them. They will slip past you like a signal you cannot catch because you are not tuned to the right frequency. Most people live in a constant state of mental noise. Their thoughts are in the past, their worry is in the future, and they are locked into their problems. They are so lost inside their own heads that they miss the messages unfolding directly in front of them. Notice the pattern in your own life. Synchronicities are most frequent when you are in a state of flow, deeply present. When you are facing a serious decision or a transformation. When you are acting from intuition rather than from logic. When you are relaxed, open, and trusting the process of life. And when you are submerged in anxiety, resistance, or overthinking, they slow down or stop completely. This is vibrational alignment. When your energy is in harmony with the flow, the signs come through clearly. When you block that flow with fear or doubt, the connection breaks. So here is what you actually do, and it takes almost nothing. Slow down. Observe your surroundings. Pay attention to detail. When you walk somewhere, do not sink into your thoughts. Watch the world around you. When you speak with someone, listen not only to the words, but to the energy behind them. And add 3 deliberate windows to your day. 10 minutes after waking with no phone. 1 walk somewhere without headphones. 5 minutes before sleep in silence. That is the receiver. Practices such as meditation, gratitude, and visualization raise your frequency further and widen the channel. But those 3 windows alone will change what you notice within a week. And watch your own inner state honestly, because it decides whether anything arrives at all. Think back to the last time something lined up perfectly for you. Were you calm and open when it happened? Or were you braced, tense, and resisting? Your state is not a side condition of this work. It is the switch. Then, once the receiver is on,
Watch for repetition, because repetition is how the field marks what matters. Certain numbers keep appearing. A particular phrase or symbol keeps turning up in conversations, in books, in your feed. The same person or the same theme keeps surfacing in your life, for no reason you can name. Those are not accidents. Those are keys, and the next 3 steps are what they open. Step 2. Learn the alphabet. The numbers are not decoration, they are a language, and it has been in use for thousands of years in every tradition that ever watched the sky and kept records. Each sequence carries its own meaning, and the moment you learn them, the messages stop being mysterious and start being readable. 111, and its stronger form, 1111, is the gate. It is the most misunderstood sequence of all because people treat it as congratulations. It is not congratulations.
Is a warning that the door is standing open. Whatever thought was in your mind in that exact second is being planted into matter right now. When you see it, stop and catch what you were thinking. If it was fear, put it down immediately. If it was a desire, hold it and say it clearly. 222 is patience and confirmation. What you set in motion is growing underground where you cannot see it. This sequence arrives at the exact moment you're about to give up on something that is actually working. Do not dig up the seed to check on it. 333 means help is standing close. Your guides, your ancestors, whatever name you give to the presence around you, have moved near enough to act. This is the sequence that tells you to ask out loud in plain words for the thing you actually need. 444 is foundation. You are standing on solid ground. The path under your feet is real, and the movement you are making is along the earth, not through the air. When doubt is loudest, this is the sequence that arrives. 555 is restructuring. The old frame of your life is already breaking, whether you have admitted it or not. Something is being taken apart so something else can stand. Resistance does not stop the break, it only lengthens it. 666 is the tilt. Your attention has slid into matter, into money, into the fear of not having enough, and it has gone too far in that direction. This is not a curse, and it never was. It is a correction, telling you to come back to your center. 777 is the direct hit. You are inside the flow, aligned, moving exactly right. Change nothing. This is the only sequence that asks you to do absolutely nothing except continue. 888 is the closing of a cycle and the arrival of resort. What you built is coming back around to you in material form, money, an opportunity, a return on something you thought was lost. 999 is completion. A chapter is finished. Whatever is ending for good, and it is not coming back in the shape you knew it. Do not drag it behind you. 000 is the empty field. All previous conditions are cleared. This is the rarest and the most powerful, because it means you can plant anything and nothing from before is holding the ground. And mirrored time, 11:11, 12:12, 21:12, is a window. During those minutes, a request travels faster than at any other time of day. Now here is where I promise to come back to Pauli, because there is a second kind of number, and almost everyone confuses it with the first. Some people are not followed by a sequence at all. They are followed by one single ordinary number for their whole life. 37, 23, 411. It turns up on receipts, on gates, on hospital doors, on the page a book falls open to. That is not a message, and you will exhaust yourself trying to decode it, because it does not carry meaning. It is a signature. It is your marker in the field, the number attached to your line,
and its function is completely different from the sequences. It does not tell you what is happening, it tells you that this moment belongs to you. Which means, when your signature appears at a crossroads, that road is yours. When it appears on a door, that door was cut to your measure. Pauli carried 137 from his equations to his letters to his dreams, and then it stood on the door of the room where he died. That is what a signature does. It closes the circle it opened, and you do not calculate it. If a number has been following you, you already thought of it while I was speaking, and that is the whole method. A signature is given, never worked out. There is one number you do calculate, and it does a different job. Take your date of birth and add every digit together. Then keep adding until one digit is left. That is your base tone. When it appears on its own, the message is about you personally, rather than about the situation in front of you. And when it stands beside a sequence, read that sequence as being addressed to you by name. Step 3. Learn the second alphabet. This is the part almost nobody gives you, and it is the reason so many people conclude that nothing is happening to them. They are watching for numbers while the answer keeps landing on the windowsill. Numbers are only one channel, and for many people, they are not even the main one. Here is the rest of the daytime vocabulary. Start
with living things, because they are the oldest channel there is. A bird striking your window means news is coming through to you, and it will arrive within days. A feather found in your path is confirmation from someone who went ahead of you. When a butterfly crosses your path, the transformation has already happened, and you simply were not looking. A moth means you are flying toward a light that is not yours. Crows and ravens mean closing, and something is being taken from you to clear the ground. A fox means you are being shown a way around, not a way through. The spider is telling you that you are weaving something whose full shape you cannot see yet. And an animal lying dead on the road in front of you means the version of the path you had planned is already dead. Not you, and nothing about your safety. The plan. Then objects, which is the channel people misread most often as bad luck. An object breaks when its role in your life is finished, and that is release, not loss. Keys, documents, or a phone that vanish right before you leave are speaking about timing, not direction. The trip is right, the hour is wrong. Something lost that comes back to you means you have been given a second window on the same question, and there will not be a third. Glass that shatters means the vessel is finished, and what it held is now free. I want to stop on that one for a second, because it took me an embarrassingly long time to learn. I spent most of a week furious at a car that refused to start. 3 mornings running, always on the way to the same meeting. I pushed through it every time, borrowed rides, arrived late and unsettled. That meeting turned into 2 years of my life I would like back. The car was not broken. The car was the first thing that tried to tell me, and it was the cheapest warning I was ever given. Then electricity, which is the fastest channel of all. Lights that flicker as you pass. Street lamps that go dark above your head. A battery that drains in an hour for no reason. A clock or a watch that stops around one specific person. The field near you is dense right now, and presence is close. Then words and names. And this one is precise enough to build decisions on. A word you have never heard before, arriving 3 times in 1 week, is a direct instruction to look up its meaning, because the definition is the message. That is the whole trick, and it works every time. One name reaching you from 3 different sources means that person is a door. And that brings us to people, because people are a channel, and almost nobody reads them as one. Some people are not simply people in your life. They are markers, doors, or mirrors, and each type reads differently. There is the one who appears at every turning point of your life, vanishes for years, then returns exactly when something is about to change. That person is a marker. Their arrival is the message, not anything they say to you. When they surface, look at what is about to move. There is the one you keep almost meeting. Same circles, same events, mutual friends, and somehow never in the same room. That is a door that has not opened yet. Do not force it, because forcing a door that is not open is how people waste years. There is the one who irritates you far out of proportion to anything they have actually done. That is a mirror. They are carrying the exact trait you refuse to look at in yourself, and they will keep arriving in new bodies and new jobs until you look. When you finally do, that type stops appearing, and the change is abrupt enough to be unmistakable. And there is the stranger who says one sentence and leaves. That is the highest form of the channel. They were never in your life at all. They were sent through it. And the sentence is the entire message. Here is how you read any of them. Do not ask what this person means to you. Ask what changed in your life within the month after they appeared, and the answer will be sitting right there. And the last daytime channel is your own body, and it is the one closest to you, which is exactly why you have been ignoring it. Be careful not to confuse this with the body seal, which comes in step 6. The seal is the body confirming an outside sign. What I am describing now is the body speaking on its own, with no external sign at all. A sudden chill or a shiver in a warm room means something passed close to you, or the decision you are turning over right now is wrong. Warmth spreading through the
chest for no reason is a yes, and it is the clearest yes the body has. The stomach dropping while somebody is talking to you means do not do it, no matter how good the argument sounds. A ringing in one ear means information is arriving at a level you cannot read yet, so stop and stay quiet for a minute. Sudden exhaustion in a specific room or around a specific person means you are losing energy there. And yawning, that starts the moment you begin working with any of this, is not boredom. It is the channel opening and pressure releasing. The rule for all of it is the same. The body answers before the mind has time to build its case. The first 3 seconds belong to the body. Everything after that is negotiation. And now we leave daylight completely, because the widest channel you own does not operate while you are awake, and you have been sleeping straight through it every night of your life. Step 4. Learn the night channel. This is the widest channel you have. It operates every single night, whether you use it or not. And it is the one almost nobody was taught to read. Here is why it carries more than anything in daylight. Everything we covered in steps 2 and 3 has to get past your filter, the part of you trained since childhood to call things coincidence. At night, that filter is off duty. There is nothing to argue with the message and nothing to explain it away, so it arrives whole. But not every dream is a message, and treating all of them as messages is how people go in circles for years. There are 3 kinds, and you need to be able to tell them apart. The first is processing, your day being digested. Fragments, absurdities, faces of people you passed on the street. Nothing holding together. There is no message in these, and there never was. You can tell because they evaporate. By the time you reach the kitchen, they are gone. The second is a message dream. You wake and it is still completely there, in order, with a feeling attached to it. The colors were stronger than life. There is one image at the center that stays sharp while everything around it fades. These stay with you for days, and sometimes for years, and that persistence is the test.
A message dream survives the walk to the kitchen. Nothing else does. The third is a visit. Someone who has died appears, and they are calm, whole and healthy, often looking younger than you remember them. They say little or nothing at all. And the way you know it was a visit rather than grief is what you feel on waking. Grief dreams leave you emptied and reaching. A visit leaves you peaceful, and that peace stays with you through the day. When that happens, you were not remembering someone. You were with them. Now the vocabulary of the night, and it is remarkably consistent across every tradition that ever wrote it down. Water is your emotional state right now. Clear water means clarity. Rough or muddy water means there is something you are not admitting to yourself. Deep water you are asked to enter means you are being told to go into the thing you have been circling. A house is you. A room you did not know existed means a capacity you have never used. A house falling apart means the identity you built is finished, and it is not about your safety or your family. It is about the version of yourself you are still trying to live inside. Teeth falling out is the single most misread dream there is, and it is almost never about death. It means either you are about to lose the ability to speak about something, or you are holding words you have not said. 9 times out of 10, there is a specific conversation you have been avoiding, and the dream is naming it. Falling means you are letting go of control, and the dream is asking whether you intend to fight it or land. Being chased means you are avoiding something in waking life, and whatever is chasing you is that thing wearing a mask. Turn and look at it inside the dream if you ever can, because the face it shows you is the answer. Flying means you have risen above a situation you were inside. It is confirmation, not fantasy. Doors and corridors mean a choice already exists that you have not admitted to yourself. Being naked in front of people means you are afraid of being seen as you are, and the dream is showing you that nobody is actually looking. And the death of someone living is almost never literal. It means an ending in your relationship with them, or the closing of a phase in their life, and it
Usually arrives right before that ending becomes visible in daylight. 2 more things about the night, and they are the practical ones. A recurring dream is a message that has not been received. It will repeat, nearly word for word, until you act on what it is pointing at. Exactly like the escalation you will hear about later in waking life. And it stops the moment you act. That is how you will know you read it correctly, because it simply never comes back. And there is a dream that arrives flat. No emotion, no drama, an ordinary scene. So unremarkable, you almost do not bother remembering it. Then weeks or months later, you walk into that exact room, that exact conversation, that exact light, and you recognize it. Those are not warnings, they are anchors. They exist to tell you that you are on the track you are supposed to be on. And they always arrive before the moment, never after. So here is the practice for this step, and it has one rule that decides everything. Right within the first 2 minutes of waking, before you get up, before the phone, before you speak to anyone. A message dream that is not captured in those 2 minutes loses its order. And by the afternoon, you will have the plot, but not the meaning. Write 3 things and nothing more. The central image, the feeling you woke with, and what was happening in your life the day before. That third line is the one that turns a dream into a readable message, because it gives you the subject, exactly the same way your thought at the moment of a waking sign gives you the subject. If you cannot write, say all 3 out loud. Speaking fixes it almost as well as writing. And one important difference from everything else in this manual. The 72-hour rule you will hear in Step 6 does not apply to the night channel. A dream stays live for about a week, and its confirmation almost never comes in another dream. It comes in daylight, through the channels in Steps 2 and 3. That is exactly what happened in Jung's office. The dream carried the message, and a beetle at the window confirmed it. Step 5. Find the subject. Now hold on to the key that makes every alphabet work, because without it, people misuse this for years. The sign gives you the type of the message. Your thought at that exact second gives you the subject. That is the entire grammar of it. 222 on its own means patience. 222, while you were thinking about leaving your job, means be patient about the job. The same sequence appearing to two different people in the same minute is speaking about two entirely different lives. This is exactly why synchronicities are also personal, and why anyone who tells you the meaning is fixed is only holding half the book. The alphabet is universal. The sentence is yours. So when something lands, stop where you are and run 4 questions in this order. What was I thinking or feeling in the moment immediately before this happened? What decision am I facing right now, and how does this connect to it? Does this confirm something, or does it challenge something I had already decided? Has this happened before, and is there a pattern here I have been stepping over? 4 questions, 30 seconds, and most of the time, the message is standing in the open by the time you finish them. And this is where your own private vocabulary begins to build on top of the shared one. If you keep seeing white feathers, and every time you see them, something significant follows, that is your personal symbol. If you keep hearing a particular song in moments of clarity, that is your personal trigger. And on that one, do not mind the lyrics for instructions, because a song does not carry orders. It carries a state. It is telling you what you need to feel in order to see what to do. Now, every message you decode will carry one of 3 intents, and you need to be able to tell them apart. Some arrive as confirmation. You are weighing an important decision, and out of nowhere, someone mentions the exact thing you were thinking about. You question whether you are on the right path, and a sign appears telling you, yes, keep going. That is the field saying you are moving in the right direction. Continue. Others act as a warning or a redirection. Maybe you felt resistance toward a particular decision, but you ignored it. Then strange things start happening. Opportunities vanish. People cancel. Things begin to feel forced and uncomfortable. This is not the universe working against you. It is showing you that you are out of alignment and pushing you to change course. And then there is the most powerful type, the ones that serve as direct guidance toward action. These are not subtle hints. They are large, bold, impossible to miss. You keep running into the same person under strange circumstances. You hear the same message from different people across a few days. An opportunity appears out of nowhere, and every element lines up perfectly. That is a door being opened. Your job is to walk through it. Everything up to this point has been about hearing. What comes now is about not being fooled, and it is the step that quietly decides whether this changes your life or slowly eats it. Step 6. Verify. This is the step that separates people who read signs from people who see messages in absolutely everything and drown in their own interpretation. There are 5 rules, and they have held for as long as anyone has been keeping records. The first is the rule of 3 channels. Once is noise, twice is worth noting, but 3 times through 3 different channels, a number, then a stranger's mouth,
then a line in a book you did not go looking for means it is addressed to you personally. One channel repeating is not the same as 3 channels agreeing. The field confirms across channels, never inside one. The second is the body seal. A real sign lands in the body before the mind has finished processing it. Goosebumps down the arms, a drop in the stomach, a sudden warmth spreading in the chest. If there is no physical response, you are not reading a sign. You are having a thought about a sign. The body knows first, and the body does not flatter you. The third rule separates the real from the invented, so hold on to it. A real sign is almost never comfortable, and it almost never arrives from the direction you are watching. Your desire always arrives in the shape you designed for it. You imagined how it would look, so when your mind produces something matching that picture, of course it matches. You drew it yourself. A real sign breaks the shape. It comes from a person you had written off at a time you did not want, pointing somewhere you were not planning to go. If you have to talk yourself into believing something was a sign, it was not one. Real ones do not need your argument. And this is the honest answer to the question that is probably sitting in you right now. What if I am just seeing what I want to see? A filter can only amplify what is already there. Confirmation bias can make you notice a number you would otherwise have skipped. What it cannot do is place a stranger on your path with your exact answer in his mouth. It cannot make 3 separate channels agree on the same message in the same week. It cannot produce the beetle at the window at the precise second the dream is spoken aloud. Projection is comfortable and it flatters you. A sign is inconvenient and it corrects you. Once you know that difference, you will never confuse them again. I learned that rule from the wrong side of it. There was a person I wanted back in my life, and for about 2 months the whole world seemed to agree with me. Their name everywhere, their song in every room I walked into, the number of the street they lived on turning up on receipts. I read all of it as confirmation because every single one of those signs was pleasant, and not one of them ever told me anything I had not already decided. The actual message was arriving the whole time in a completely different channel. Everything practical in my life had gone heavy and slow that spring, and I was too busy collecting the pretty ones to read the one that was working. That is the shape of it. A wish sings to you, and it sings in your own key, which is exactly why it is so easy to listen to. The fourth rule is the shelf life. A waking sign is live for roughly 72 hours. Inside that window, it will confirm itself through a second and a third channel, or it will go quiet. If nothing follows within 3 days, it was not about that. This single rule will save you months of building whole life decisions on one glance at a clock. And remember the exception from step 4, because dreams run about a week and confirm themselves in daylight rather than at night. The fifth rule is the contradiction test, and it is the fastest way to catch yourself. A real series will contradict you at least once. If everything you have received this week
Agrees with what you already wanted, you are not reading the field, you are reading your own reflection. Guidance corrects, only a mirror always nods. And now the situation that stops more people than any other, which is 2 signs pointing in opposite directions. It happens, it is normal, and there are only 3 causes. The first is that they are answering 2 different questions. You asked one thing out loud, while another question was running underneath it, and you received answers to both. Separate them, write both questions down, and the contradiction usually dissolves on the page. The second is that one of them is a sign, and the other is a wish that borrowed the costume. Apply the third rule and ask which of the 2 is uncomfortable. That one is the sign. The comfortable one came from you. And the third is that they differ in timing rather than in direction.
One says yes, and the other says not yet, and you read that as conflict because you were only listening for yes or no. Put them in sequence instead of in opposition, and they will usually turn out to be one message in two parts. If all three fail and the conflict stands, the body decides. Hold one option in your mind for 10 seconds and notice what happens in your chest. Then hold the other. The mind will argue both sides forever. The body will not hold two answers at once. Everything from this point forward rests on three things, and the old teachers always named them in the same order: intention, alignment, action. Alignment you already built back in step 1, and it is the one almost everybody skips because it is the least dramatic of the three. If you have ever lived through a stretch of life where everything seemed to fall magically into place, that was not magic. That was alignment. And the whole point is that you can build it deliberately instead of waiting for it. Intention is step 7. Action is step 8. Here they are. Step 7. Ask. Up to here you have been receiving. Now you start the conversation, and this is where the whole thing accelerates because synchronicities respond to focus. The more specific your question, the clearer the signs become. Ask for it literally, out loud, in plain words. Show me a sign that I am on the right path. Reveal to me the next step toward this. Bring me the right people, the right opportunities, the right circumstances. There is nothing to be embarrassed about in how plain that sounds, and plainness is exactly what gets answered. And stay open about the form the answer takes, because the field does not communicate in linear, predictable ways. It answers through symbols, through emotions, through experience, and through every channel in steps 2, 3, and 4. Ask a question in words and sit there waiting for words, and you will miss the bird at the window. But most people ask in a way that cannot be answered, and then conclude that nobody is listening. So here is how to ask properly. One question at a time. Not 3, not a list. 1. If you ask about your career and your relationship in the same breath, every answer that arrives will be ambiguous, and you will read it wrong. Make it closed rather than open. Not, what should I do with my life? Because that is not a question, that is a fog. Show me whether I should stay where I am. A closed question gets a fast answer. An open question gets whether. Do not ask about something you have already decided. You will only see confirmation because you set out looking for it. If you catch yourself hoping for a particular answer, that is the moment to rewrite the question. Assign a window and a channel, not an outcome. Answer me within 3 days, through something I cannot miss. You are allowed to set the terms of delivery. You are not allowed to specify what the answer says, and ask for the next step rather than the destination. The universe will not hand you every detail in advance. It will give you the next step, and that is all. It will show you enough to move forward, but never the whole road, because life is not about following a rigid plan. It is about co-creating one step at a time. Then say it out loud, alone in a room, and write it down. Saying it opens the channel. Writing it keeps you honest about what you actually asked when the answers start arriving. And ask it in the last minutes before sleep, because the question you carry across that threshold gets answered in both channels at once. And now the step everything else was built to make possible, and the exact place where almost everyone stops. Step 8. Act. Recognizing synchronicities is only the first step. Acting on them is the thing that actually changes a life, and every one of the 7 steps before this was preparation for this one. They are not messages to be observed, they are catalysts. And a catalyst that never gets used is just a fact you happen to know. This is where most people fail, and it is worth being blunt about it. They see the signs, they feel the push, they know something is trying to guide them. And then they hesitate. They doubt. They wait for more clarity, more confirmation, more certainty. Synchronicities are not about certainty, they are about trust. And here is the mechanic underneath it all. Signs multiply for the one who follows them. The moment you begin trusting the guidance and acting on it, reality starts rearranging in your favor. The more you listen, the louder the signs become. The universe rewards movement. But if you ignore them, doubt them, dismiss them, they begin to fade. Because the field will not keep sending messages to someone who is not listening. So here is how you act, mechanically, without waiting to feel ready. Act inside the 72-hour window. That is not a suggestion, it is the shape of the thing. A sign confirmed on Monday and acted on the following month is not being acted on, it is being remembered. Shrink the message until it fits inside 24 hours. This is the rule that removes the last excuse, so listen carefully. A real sign never gives you a step you cannot take. If what you read seems to demand that you quit everything, move countries, or blow up your life tomorrow, you are reading the destination and calling it the step. Shrink it. One message sent, one question asked out loud to one person, one application filled in, one conversation you have been avoiding for a year opened with a single sentence. I watched someone sit on this for 11 months. Everything was telling her to leave the city, and she read it as leave the city, which meant selling a flat, ending a lease, moving a child between schools, and of course, she never moved a millimeter, and the signs kept arriving, and she kept feeling worse. The step underneath all of it turned out to be one phone call to a woman she had not spoken to in 4 years. She made the call on a Tuesday. Everything that followed, and a great deal followed, came through that call. The destination was the city, the step was the phone. And make it physical. A decision made in your head does not count, and the field does not register it. Something has to move in the world. Now understand what is actually at stake in this step, because this is the part nobody explains, and it accounts for half the hard things that have happened in your life. The universe whispers first. That is the number on the clock, the bird at the glass, the word that arrives 3 times. If you do not listen, the message repeats, and it comes through more channels at once. If you still do not move, it stops being a message and becomes an obstacle. Doors begin closing. Things that always worked stop working. Everything you touch turns heavy and slow, and you start describing your own life with the word stuck. And if you continue past that, it becomes collision, a loss, an ending you did not choose, something in the body. Now look carefully at what changes across those 4 stages, because everything depends on it. Through the first 3, you are being guided. At the 4th, you are not being guided anymore. At the 4th, something is being taken from you. And what gets taken is never random. It is precisely the thing you are holding on to instead of taking the step. Nobody is punishing you. There is no judgment anywhere in this, and there never was. You are simply being freed by force from something you would not put down voluntarily, and the force scales up only because the whisper was ignored. Which means every stage of that ladder can be left at any point, and there is exactly one way off it. You move. That is the entire exit, and it works at the 4th stage as well as the 1st. That is why step 8 is not the last step in a list. It is the reason the other 7 exist. Now let me hand you the instrument that holds all 8 steps together, because everything above works far better written down than remembered. It is a ledger, and it has a day page and a night page. The day page has 3
columns. First column, the sign itself, what appeared and at what time. Second column,
what you were thinking about in the 60 seconds before it appeared. This is the column nobody keeps, and it is the one that carries the meaning, because the sign tells you the type, and this column tells you the subject. Third column, what happened in the 72 hours afterward. Leave it blank at first, and come back to fill it in. The night page has the 3 lines from step 4. Central image, feeling on waking, and what was happening in your life the day before. Written in the first 2 minutes before anything else. And the moment you begin tracking, something shifts because you are sending a signal that you are paying attention. You stop being an observer and become a participant in the conversation. Signs multiply for the one who follows them. So here is the whole thing assembled into one run, 7 days. I call it the reading week, and by the end of it, you will have your own dictionary, written by your own life. Tonight, before anything else, run step 7. One question, out loud, in a room by yourself, then written on the first page. Specific, closed, about the next step and not the destination. Ask it last thing before sleep. Then wake and write the night page before your feet touch the floor, which means the ledger sleeps beside the bed and not in another room. Because a night page you have to walk to is a night page you will never write. Even if you remember nothing, write that you remembered nothing. Because that line alone trains the recall, and by the 3rd or 4th morning, it opens. Through the day, keep the day page. Every entry, the same day it happens. Carry the ledger with you, because a sign you do not capture in the first hour becomes a vague feeling by the evening and vanishes by the next day. Run step 6 as you go. When something appears once, note it and move on. When it appears a second time, underline it. When a third channel confirms it, that entry is your answer, and step 8 starts immediately, shrunk to something you can do before tomorrow night. And on the 7th evening, sit down and read the whole thing from beginning to end in one sitting. Not day by day as you go, but all at once, at the end. Read down the second column on its own first, because that column will show you the 2 or 3 subjects your life is actually circling, and I promise you, they will not be the subjects you would have named out loud. Then read the day pages and the night pages side by side, and look for the night image that showed up in daylight. That pairing is the strongest signal you will ever get, and almost everyone finds at least one inside 7 days. The first week I kept both pages properly. What surfaced had nothing to do with the question I had asked. There was a dream I had been having on and off for years. The same house, the same locked room at the end of the hall, and I had always filed it under strange and left it there. Written down on 3 mornings in 1 week, sitting next to what was actually happening in my daylight, it stopped being strange and became embarrassingly obvious. It had been pointing the whole time at one specific thing I had refused to look at for most of a decade. I did the small version of it that month, the 24-hour version, nothing heroic. I have not had that dream since, and that is precisely how a recurring dream behaves once it has finally been received. 7 days. That is all it takes, because the signs have been arriving the whole time. The only thing that was missing was someone writing them down. And there is something I want to leave standing open before you do, because a manual that closes every single door is lying to you. There are 3 things at the center of all of this that have never been answered, and I include in that the people who spent entire lifetimes inside the subject. Nobody has ever accounted for why a signature attaches itself to one particular life. Pauli did not choose 137, it chose him. It followed him through his equations and his letters and his dreams for 60 years, and then it was waiting on the door of the room where he died. There is not a tradition on earth that explains why a number binds itself to a person and rides with them to the end. Nobody has ever accounted for why the same handful of images surfaces in cultures that had no contact with each other.
The scarab meant rebirth on the
Nile. And the same forms come up tonight in the dreams of people who have never read a word about Egypt. Jung gave that a name and spent decades mapping it. And naming a thing is not the same as explaining it. And nobody has ever accounted for why some people are simply born receivers. They read from early childhood without being taught. They assume everyone else can see it too. And no one has explained why the channel opens wide for one child and stays narrow for the one sleeping in the next room. I am telling you this deliberately. Everything in this video works, and you can verify all of it yourself inside 7 days, without taking my word for a single line. But it works the way electricity worked for a century before anyone could say what it actually was. The floor is completely solid. There is simply no bottom underneath it, and anyone who tells you they have reached one is selling you the shallow end. That is the part I would not want you to lose. The moment this becomes only a procedure to you, you have stopped listening to something and started operating a machine, and it does not answer machines. Now, before you start, let me save you the 3 ways this goes wrong. Every single person who works with this hits at least one of them. The first is that the signs stop entirely. This is the most common message I get, and there are only 4 reasons for it. You received an answer and did not move, so the channel closed. You keep asking about something that has already been answered, and silence is the response to a question that is finished. You have started collecting signs instead of acting on them, which turns a conversation into a hobby, or a quiet restructuring is underway and the field goes silent while the pieces are being moved. The way back is the same in all 4 cases. Do the last thing you were told to do, even if you were told a month ago. The channel opens through action, never through asking harder. Signs multiply for the one who follows them, and they go quiet for the one who only watches. The second is that silence itself gets misread. When you ask clearly and nothing comes back, that is not the universe ignoring you. Silence means not this or not yet. People who cannot read silence keep shouting at a door that has already answered. The third is the trap, and it is the one that costs people years. Not every strong pull is guidance. Real guidance never asks you to burn your life down to prove your faith in it. And do not confuse this with the ladder you heard in step 8, because they look similar from a distance, and they are opposites. Life does take things from you when you refuse to move, but that is a consequence, and it only ever arrives after the whisper was ignored. Nothing that is genuinely guiding you opens with a demand for a sacrifice. An instruction and a consequence look nothing alike once you have seen both. It never demands that you cut off everyone who questions you, empty your savings overnight, or abandon the people who depend on you. Guidance opens a door and lets you walk. Anything that pushes you, rushes you, or isolates you is not coming from where you think it is. Real signs are patient because they know you will arrive. And one more thing that belongs beside it. A sign gives you the next step. It does not give you permission to stop living while you wait for the following one. If you find yourself unable to make a simple decision without checking a clock or a license plate first, you have stopped reading the language and started handing your will away. The whole point of learning to read is that you become more capable of moving, not less. There is one more thing about time, and it is larger than any single sign. Learn this, and you will never panic about a quiet year again. Signs do not arrive evenly across your life. They arrive in seasons. There are dense seasons, weeks or months where everything speaks at once, where you cannot look at a clock without being told something. That is a transition, and you are being actively steered through it. Those seasons close, so move while they are open. Then there are quiet seasons.
Months of it, sometimes a year, where nothing arrives and you begin to wonder whether you imagined all of it. That is not abandonment. That is the period when what you were told is being built, and there is nothing further to add while you are building it. Guidance goes quiet during execution in exactly the same way nobody gives.
Directions to someone already driving the right road. Then comes the turn. The signs return abruptly, usually with one large event you could not possibly miss, and a new, dense season opens. So here is the rule. Do not measure your life by how many signs you are receiving. A quiet year very often means you did what you were told. And the people drowning in signs every single day are frequently the ones who have never acted on a single one, which is why the field keeps repeating itself. Now let me answer the questions I get asked most, because these are the ones that stop people on day 2. What if I do not see numbers at all? Then numbers are not your channel, and there is nothing wrong with you. Go back through steps 3 and 4. Some people receive almost everything through animals. Some through words and names, some through objects and electricity. And a great many people are night receivers who get almost nothing in daylight. Start the ledger, and within a few days you will see which page your entries keep landing on. That page is your channel. What if I see them constantly, dozens of times a day? Then you have stopped filtering, and when everything is a sign, nothing is. Apply the 3-channel rule strictly for 1 week and record only what passes it. The volume will drop, and the meaning will sharpen immediately. Is it bad if I keep seeing 666? No, and it never was. It is a correction, not a curse. It is telling you that your attention has slid too far into money, into survival, into fear of not having enough, and it is asking you to come back to your center. That is a helpful message, and it is one of the most useful in the alphabet. I dreamed of someone who died. Was that really them? Look at how you woke, rather than at what happened in the dream. If you woke calm, and that calm stayed with you through the morning, and they appeared whole and healthy and said little, that was a visit. If you woke reaching for them and emptied out, that was grief moving through you, which is its own necessary work, but a different thing. And visits almost never carry instructions. Their entire message is that they are well, and that you are not being watched over from a distance. What if I never remember my dreams? Almost everyone who says this recovers recall within a week, because it is a habit and not a capacity. Write on the night page before your feet touch the floor, even if the only thing you write is that you remembered nothing. Say out loud before sleep that you intend to remember, and do not reach for the phone on waking, because the screen erases the night faster than anything else in your life. What if I see a sign but cannot remember what I was thinking? Leave the second column blank. Do not reconstruct it, because an invented thought will poison the whole reading. Honesty in that column matters more than completeness, and the pattern will still emerge from the first and third columns. Can I ask for a specific sign? Yes, and it is the strongest form of asking. Name the channel and the window. Show me a white feather within 3 days if the answer is yes. What you must never do is name the outcome, because then you are not asking, you are instructing, and instructions get silence. What if 2 people see the same number at the same time? They receive the same type and 2 different sentences. The sign gives the type. The thought at that second gives the subject. 2 people, 2 subjects, 1 alphabet. What if I ignored the signs for years? Nothing is closed. The field does not hold grudges, and it does not run out of patience.
The message comes back the moment you start listening, usually within days, and often through the same channel it was using before you stopped looking. You are not behind, you are simply back. Does this conflict with my faith? Nothing here asks you to believe anything new or to put down anything you hold sacred. Every tradition that ever kept records kept these same records under its own names. Karma, divine timing, providence. Dreams, as the place where messages arrive, sit at the center of nearly every scripture on earth. The alphabet is older than any of the frames built around it, and it asks nothing from you except attention. And now, before you close this, one last thing from me to you. A voice inside you is probably already saying that this is too simple, that numbers on a clock and a bird at a window cannot possibly matter, that the people this works for are
different from you somehow. Notice whose voice that is. It is the same voice that told you at 7 years old that it was just your imagination. It is the training, speaking in your own accent, and it has been doing this job for so long that you mistook it for your own judgment. It has always called simple things worthless, because simple things are the ones that set people free. You do not need to be special, and you do not need to be ready. You do not need to believe any of this before you begin, because this is not a belief system. It is a reading practice, and reading either works or it does not. 7 days will tell you, and understand what the actual cost of entry is. 1 page. 1 question spoken out loud tonight in an empty room. Everything else in the reading week is just writing down what was going to happen to you anyway. That is the part that took me longest to accept. The signs do not start when you begin. They have been arriving the entire time, through every year you spent calling them coincidence, and through every night you slept straight through the clearest channel you own. The universe has been holding up its half of this conversation for decades without you. The only thing that changes tonight is that somebody finally starts writing it down. And from the first entry, signs multiply for the one who follows them. And here is where you have to make a choice, because most people, after hearing everything in this video, will go straight back to their old patterns. They will notice a synchronicity, feel a moment of wonder, and then turn away from it as coincidence. They will get a sign pointing them somewhere new, and they will hesitate, overthink, and let fear make the decision by default. They will stay in the loop of doubt, waiting for more proof, waiting for something bigger, waiting for certainty. And certainty never comes before action. It has never once arrived in that order, for anybody, in the whole history of this. So whatever else you take out of the last hour, take this. Do not ignore the signs. So, go back to the 3 things I opened with, because you can read all 3 of them now. The song that plays at the exact second you think of someone is your personal channel, the private vocabulary that belongs to nobody else on earth. And it carries a state rather than an instruction. The number that follows you everywhere is either the shared alphabet or your own signature, and you now know how to tell which and how to find the subject it is speaking about. And the stranger who carries your exact answer is the 3rd channel, the confirmation, arriving from the direction you were not watching, which is precisely how you know it is real. None of them were coincidence. They were sentences, and you have been walking past them your whole life because nobody handed you the alphabet. Reality is not random. It is structured, intelligent, and responsive, and you are part of that structure. Your thoughts, your emotions, and your choices shape the path in front of you. You are not simply moving through reality, you are co-creating it. Which means synchronicities are not just happening to you, they are happening for you, and every one of them is an invitation. The people who experience the most synchronicities are not lucky. They pay attention, they act on intuition,
They trust the process. And because of that, life moves for them in a way that looks effortless from the outside, as though something behind the scenes were arranging everything in their favor. Something is. Once you step into alignment, you will understand that synchronicities are not rare at all. They are everywhere, waiting for you to wake up and finally see them. You were never blind, you were only illiterate, and that ended today. So here is what I am asking of you. Write the number that has been following you in the comments. Just the number. Some of you have been seeing the same sequence for months and have never said it out loud to anyone. And saying it out loud is the first act of reading. Then look at how many people are writing the same one you are. That is your first synchronicity of the week, and it will be sitting right there underneath this video. And begin tonight. One question before sleep, one night page before your feet touch the floor. 7 days. Come back on the 8th day and tell me what the pattern said. The universe has been speaking to you your entire life. Starting tonight, you can answer.